Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from Delta CX. We're a full service UX and CX consulting agency. Why not check us out? Costs you nothing to look at our website. Thanks for coming to January 11th office hours Ask Us Anything because it is a Three Musketeers day. We will have Darren and Dr. Nick joining in just a moment. But first, some of the usual business to get out of the way. I want to thank everybody who's been financially supporting the channel, our mid-level and senior level low ego action heroes, including Anita, Chang, Darren, our very own Darren. Thank you, Darren. Ican, Irena, Ivy, Jordan, Michelle, Nikki, Ralitza, Ray, Solomon, and our senior low ego action heroes, Farmcat and Mix Betty. Yay! Thanks to all of you for keeping this channel in cheesy stock videos that I pay for and chocolate chips. Elizabeth says, hello, I'm finally catching one of these after 8 months. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Good to see you here. We did get some questions ahead of time, so I am going to be reading those out. But if you have questions, get them in the chat room, or you can get them in the anonymous asking system. So let's bring in our super awesome guests and have them tell you who the heck they are and why you want to ask them questions. Darren, who are you?
Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. Get that in again. Darren Hood, 26 plus year user experience professional who makes no apologies for taking a stand for what we all do know and love, period.
All right. And find him on LinkedIn, y'all. Darren Hood. And hello to Charlene and Sheer in the chat. Dr. Nick, tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nick. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm like Darren. I'm a digital native, been doing this for decades. I was born into the Matrix and I've never left. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm an active working UX practitioner, currently working user research in the public sector.
Super, thank you. And a couple of quick comments from the chat room. Elizabeth says, we have to be thanked for her getting a UX research internship. So yes, congratulations to Elizabeth. Yeah, we both set off a sound. And wonderful, congratulations. We can't wait to hear more about it. Mohammed says, thank you kindly for valuable information you always provide. Well, thank you for coming to hear it. You know, I say, find 3 people who should know about this channel and tell them. Just 3. Surely you know 3. Mm-hmm. It's easy. You can even do it this week. So let me start with questions. We got long questions this week. We've got, I think, 2 long questions and 4 short questions, but that means 6 long answers. So times 3. So the permutations and combinations are ugly. Let's just put it out there. So let me read this to you first. First, this was a quote from a LinkedIn post. So I'm going to read it out loud for because we do have fans of the show who don't look at the screen. So I want to make sure they are not missing anything. This is a quote from a LinkedIn post that says, UX researchers, I'm curious about something. Do you ever listen to participant feedback that conflicts with their observed behaviors? For example, I'm thinking about times where there might be a tension between organizational goals and user goals, where the metrics might align more with the former than the latter. It doesn't even have to be a dark pattern. Pop-ups are widely hated, but they undeniably increase conversion rates. There might be other situations too, or maybe you'll argue never privilege unreliable attitudes over behavior. And the person who asked the question said, I found this post fascinating and I 100% agree, but at the same time, if we're interviewing people online and it's not a usability test, meaning we can't observe their behavior, how do we go about identifying gaps between user feedback and behavior? So I think in short, the question is, user feedback and behavior, what they do, what they say, and I think there's a little bit of versus business goals. Nick, you're smirky. What about you first today?
I love this. Thank you. I love this. I really love this one. This is great. This is UX. Welcome to the world. You know, this is why when Debbie puts up the "it depends" graphic.
Oh, please hold.
It depends. The experience that we all want you guys to get, the experience that we develop, is so that you can apply these things on a case-by-case basis. I can't tell you a broad brush rule that says user needs always trump organizational needs, because that's just not realistic. And vice versa. It is always a case by case juggling, balancing, negotiation act, right? It just is, or at least that's been my experiences. Judging by Debbie and Darren's nods, I'm expecting them to have a similar, because that's the world we're in. Some things are worth fighting for and going to war with the marketing director or whoever it was that's doing that thing. And other times it's not. Other times you got to pick your fights, and there are bigger, more important, more valuable battles to be had. So this is core UX stuff. So yeah, that's about all I have to say on it. But this is an ongoing central philosophical and applied issue for every single UXer that's ever walked the earth, I think. At least it has been for me. Darren.
Yeah, two things come to mind for me. One is, if you're in a position where you're conducting research and you do get to see their behaviors, I'm going to touch on that one. You hear what they say, and then their behaviors say something different. You want to make sure that when you're reporting out your findings, because of course every research initiative has reporting behind it, which is my B comment is going to be on that as well. You want to make sure that you are, well, I might as well mix it in with this one. How we frame our findings is critical. And people talk about doing the research, and I hear people talking about research a lot, and they don't spend a lot of time talking about how to best present the results that came out of the research. I mean, because you can indeed have this thing where you see somebody that they say one thing and they do another, which users do all the time. When you go to present that to your stakeholders, how are you sharing that? It's one thing for you to see it, and it's another thing to say however you say it. So it's really critical. If you know that they're doing something differently, make sure that you express it that way to the team. If you're interviewing them, you don't get to see the behaviors, so you really don't know. We know in the back of our mind that they always say one thing and do another. So I would say, if I'm doing research and I know I'm only going to get to interview them, then I'm going to frame questions that are going to help me to get past that muddy water kind of scenario, because, and that goes back to research design, which people don't talk about very much. Your research is not going to be any better than how you design it. So if you, and that's the problem today. You got a lot of people flooding into user research and they don't know how to design. They want to do research, but they don't know how to design it. You design the research, you do the research, you got to screen people. There are so many different layers to doing research the right way. And at the very end, how are you framing your findings? So I wanted to just focus on that, building on what Dr. Nick already said. And I'm sure Debbie is going to build on that, and Dr. Nick coming back.
Oh, Dr. Nick, you got something else?
Yeah, sorry, because the bit I completely left off was with the bit that Darren totally focused in on, was that kind of validity question around what people say, what they do. I can give you a really good example right now. I'm working for a client. I've got a savage amount of video to analyze. The point being is I'm asking people about a particular tool or software that they're using or not using. And it's official corporate software that they're meant to use. Now, I can tell from years of experience and as a whatever, some of the quality of the answers is absolutely moderated by whether they actually are using this thing or not. Okay, that's that kind of reading between the lines stuff. Is it scientific? No, it is not. It is gut, it is experience. That's where the art of research comes in, I suppose, because
yes,
you'll
that.
generate hypotheses in your own mind to follow up in greater, more scientific ways. I don't want to ramble, but do you understand where I'm trying to go with this? It's what people say and what they do are always different. So when you've only got the opportunity to interview, you really are becoming a lie detector or a truth seeker, or you're looking for the signal amongst the noise. That's part of the role, and that's, I think, what makes me a really good researcher, because I'm quite good at that, or at least the hypotheses I generate usually get confirmed or often get confirmed. Sorry, Debbie, your turn.
No, it was great. And we also have a comment in the chat room I want to read out before I add my thoughts to this. Morale says, I frame conflicting findings, behavior, they can't complete the task, but they think or say they did complete it, as even more risky than when the user knows, specifically in enterprise software solutions. Love it. That's a really great point.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I'm just wowing at that. Beautiful comment there. What I
Yes.
wanted to add to the original questions and answers was kind of that metrics piece. The idea of like, well, we all hate pop-ups but pop-ups, they work. Users don't like pop-ups, but yeah, they work. And I keep challenging marketing people and others to get me deeper data on that. You might have more mailing list signups, but are you having more mailing list reports of spam? Are you having more mailing list unsubscriptions? Are you having more people opening your emails? Like, what really puts money in the business's pocket? Because it's not, now we're in funnel land, but the act of putting the mailing list on the screen itself, and even people joining it, doesn't make sense. Especially when it's like, join and get a coupon, and most people join, get the coupon, buy something, go off the mailing list. Like, did we still achieve our goals? What are our goals? And if our goals are vanity metrics, we need to take another look at that. So what I wrote down was, first of all, observational research always wins. I often tell the story about some research I was doing, what's now a year and a half ago, where we had a woman on an e-commerce page, and she was going, oh, I hate these categories. I hate them. They're the bane of my existence. Every time I have to fill in categories, I am just, and then, of course, at the end of the interview, I said, what did you like most about this page? And she's like, what she said? She goes, the categories. And I said, well, hold on a minute. I thought the categories were the bane of your existence. And she said, oh, they are. I thought I had to find something nice to say. I said, no, you don't have to find something nice to say. Totally optional. She goes, okay, I hate the categories. But like, what if another researcher had said, people love the categories. Their favorite part of the page is the categories. And I think now that goes back to what Nick said about good research planning, good research execution. This is a mistake more likely to be made by either newbie researchers or researchers who aren't researchers. Like, the product manager is going to ask the user some stuff. Hey, they really like categories. They said so. And it's like, wow, did you just see what I see? Said the lamb to the shepherd. So, and then I also wrote down, be careful of myopic metrics. Be careful of metrics that look at a short-term win, like mailing list signups or something like that, when there is a longer arc of carnage. Make sure you're looking more at that end-to-end journey that I'm always talking about. The trigger, the orbit, they're in your ecosystem. There's actions they take afterwards. Are we looking at how any gain in early metrics might have played out in a loss in later metrics? For example, sometimes more signups led to more leaving or fewer conversions. So be careful of some of these quick wins that are long-term losses. Darren has something to add to that.
Yeah, I thought about something else really quick. We also have to make sure that we qualify stakeholder sentiments and comments. For example,
you put up a sheep.
Hey, Kayleen. For example, what do they mean when they say pop-up? I mean, there's like 50 different pop-up executions. So when they say that people hate pop-ups, is it the kind like, I'm in Michigan, the Detroit Free Press. You ever want to get some laughs? Go to freep.com, and just look at the experience. It's part of Gannett, so it's part of USA Today. They have those are, some people consider those pop-ups. They take over the entire screen. Everybody hates that. And then they hide the ability to close it. And so that's something that we hate. Nobody's mental models say, wow, I want to go to this site and I want pop-ups to get in my way. Nobody says that. So that's why people hate it. But then you have these very elegantly presented type of very courteous pop-ups, make it easy to close, presents an option, makes it easy. It doesn't really get it gets in the way, but it doesn't get in the way. So you have to find out, what do they mean? Whatever terminology they're using, we need to understand what they're really getting at. And then, especially with a lot of the newer UXers, nothing against anybody, it's just a true statement I'm about to make, is that a lot of people coming into UX don't realize that we're not order takers. So when somebody comes in and they just say, hey, we know the users don't like pop-ups, and they'll go, yes, this whole Imhotep thing again.
Oh,
yes,
someone
we do
put
not
up
like
Imhotep.
pop-ups. And that's the end of it, without confirming what they really meant. Delve into it, ask questions, which is why being inquisitive is such a key trait for a UX professional to have. On top of the fact, we're not order takers. Stop taking orders. Find out what's really needed.
All right. I'm
Debbie,
going to go
does
to...
our chat get seen by the viewers?
Hey, what?
Does our sidebar chat get seen by the viewers?
What sidebar chat?
I put in the vMix call chat. I just dropped a link. I wasn't sure if everybody else could see that. I think
No,
it's
if you're
just us.
dropping
we
stuff
have
in
a-
vMix, it only goes to me, and I don't have that window open.
Okay. I've got a video which I will share with you guys somewhere else. So I'll give this link to Debbie. It's a show reel that I made for Virgin Media. It's me in 5 years ago challenging pop-ups with evidence, and it covers everything that we've talked about today. But this was actual stuff that I did to prove them wrong, basically evidence. So you'll really enjoy it.
Okay, hold on. Let me blip over to the YouTube description, and let me quickly edit the description to get it in there, and that way everybody can take a look for that. And then I will read the next question, and we'll jump on that. Hold on, let me get this link in the... All right. The Nick's Vimeo link is now in the YouTube description, and you all have homework. All right. All right. We have, UX Chat says, hello from Brazil. You guys rock. And hello, UX Chat. Hello from Brazil. Hello at Brazil. I hope you saw my interview with Rodrigo and Rafael. And Kurt says, or offer solutions around what they're seeking. A good solution to a modal message might be a static or persistent message. Kurt hates the toast. All right, so our next question is also a long one. I'm going to read through it. I know it looks like an eye chart over there. Sorry to everybody on a phone. I'm going to read it out loud. People send me long questions. Okay, it says, Debbie, would you help me debunk this argument I constantly see? Background. I mentioned that I use HCD approach and I don't believe in lean. Some arguments I see. Quote, assumptions exist whether or not people choose to talk about them. The lean canvas is used to identify the assumptions and what is actually known so that they can be validated or invalidated with additional research. Making something to learn is fine as long as the learning actually happens. That's the entire reason lean UX is based around stated hypotheses, like we believe that, instead of problem statements that are built on assumptions. It certainly depends on the people you work with and the culture there. We have PMs that fall in love with the solution, not the problem, and it might be dangerous to get them to work in the solution space before the problem, or it might be helpful to give them an outlet, somewhere to put their solutions down so they don't get fixated on them. End quote. New quote. I think teams struggle with lean and really agile because they're focused on the outputs and are not actually interested in learning. They want to ship things fast. That's why lean is useful. It brings the design team into the agile cadence. I'm not saying it's perfect or for every situation, but it's a tool in the toolbox, so I wouldn't entirely discard it. Obviously this is all in my wheelhouse, but does anybody else want to speak to this stuff before I set it on fire? Hey, Dr. Giles.
Oh God, man, there's a lot there to digest. I'll jump in really quick. People are going to have their opinions in helping to debunk it. they're not usually formed very well. Sometimes they are formed, and by formed I don't mean correct. It just has a lot of complexity to it that needs to be managed. Um, if somebody is, the funny thing when you're dealing with a stakeholder, if they are determined to do something, or I thought in my experience, when it comes to methodology, not the actual design recommendations about different things we're doing, but the approach, you're not going to get them out of it. It's coming up with ways to operate in excellence based on whatever we've been given, the sphere we're able to operate in. If people want to move fast, there's still ways to be UCD. You can't do the full research bit, but you can use heuristics, and many heuristics are based on research. There are different things that you can do, and you just have to drive value as best you can. I mean, that's all I've got on this particular one. I know Debbie's going to lock and load really big on this.
Yeah, sorry. I hope I don't go too long on this. Nick, anything to add?
Was that written by Jeff himself? That's a genuine question. I mean, I'm not. It sounds so biased.
It does. That
Jeff
was my
disciple
thought
for sure.
That was my thought as well. My guess is that somebody copied pasted from something Jeff wrote as a rebuttal to an argument that our friend of the show, because this came in anonymously, our friend of the show wrote. So my guess is that this is from a Jeff blog post or the new edition of the Lean UX book or something. But the person who sent it in just the way you see it. I copied and pasted it, so I can't say where it comes from.
The only thing I would say about this, and then I'll hand it over to you because this really is your wheelhouse. It's what it smells of. The sense about it is of somebody who has an opinion formed completely divorced of reality and the practical modern business world that we operate in. That all, it's a lovely story. It sells books. It's all good stuff. That's part of the boiling the ocean mentality that I'm fighting on a day-by-day basis these days. If you want hypothesis testing, it's called science. We don't need to call it lean anything. I mean, it says there, that's the entire reason Lean UX is based around stated hypotheses. We believe that. I mean, stop me if you've heard this before, but, we call that science. Anyway, Debbie, all yours.
Let's see. We have a question coming in from M, and M, you are at the bottom of the list. I'm worried your question's going to be answered an hour from now. So let me just quickly say, Jared Spool is bad. Okay, so let's cue that up. Sad but true. All right, so let's cue that up for later. M, we'll get to you, but we have a long list today. So let me try to go the short way on this as much as possible. First of all, Lean UX is neither lean nor UX. So if you look up lean, just Google lean, you'll find lean manufacturing. Originally, it was lean manufacturing because it came from Toyota and people who were trying to make factories and manufacturing plants more efficient and to reduce wastes. And of course, that then got translated into the digital world, mostly through Lean Six Sigma. Now, some people go, oh, Six Sigma, oh, it's analysis paralysis. Okay, it's got its moments, but it's got a lot of good stuff too. And I say, look up the original definition of lean, and you'll find that the original definition of lean and lean startup and lean UX are the opposite. They are oh, thank you. Oh my God, $50, Byron. Stop that. Good Lord. What? Oh my gosh, that's a lot of chocolate chips.
For you, Byron.
That's a lot of chocolate chips. Okay, thank you, Byron. That is exceedingly sweet. Wow. Yeah. Oh, and David's here too. Always happy to see David. David says, hey, you want to be lean? Don't do anything that isn't necessary. What is or isn't necessary is based on the risk tolerance the team or org has, including UX. That in fact, that was one of the lines that I said at in a conference talk that I recently found out Jared Spool stole from me, where I said like, oh, you want to go fast? You want to save money? Stop doing QA. Stop doing QA. You don't have to QA your code. Your developers are talented. Your code's probably good enough. You wanna save time or money? stop doing QA. And I found out later he stole that from me completely. Sad. So
Can
Byron
we call it
says,
keto UX?
what?
Can we call it keto UX?
Oh
Because it's
my
like we're
God.
taking those
No,
nuts,
because I like
taking the
keto.
nuts research out.
No, I like keto. Let's not, please. Byron says, when PMs give you lemon, make research lemonade. So back to the original question. What I tend to find, especially when Jeff is writing stuff, is you'll find that Jeff's writing style is a lot of manipulation and false choices. And because he uses a lot of logical fallacies, he ends up really easy to argue against. So, for example, he'll say, well, either your PMs are going to do this or this. And it's like, well, wait a minute, those aren't the only two things. Like Nick says, he tends to focus on the happy path as if everybody is going to do things the way he suggests. Research is going to go great. And when all the engineers do research, it's going to be fine. And when all the PMs analyze the research, it's going to be fine. So so it says here, Lean UX is based around stated hypotheses. There's nothing new about that. Remember, Jeff wrote Lean UX right after Lean Startup came out. So he was really picking up from where the Lean Startup left off, which we talked about a week or so ago. See that episode about the Lean Startup, or just go to YouTube and write Delta CX Lean Startup. So making something to learn is fine as long as the learning actually happens. Are you sure?
Bad.
What if making something to learn is something that works against our customers' tasks, against our users' needs? Is it still time that was well spent? Is it budget that was well spent? What if we live AV tested it because somebody said, we don't need all this UX stuff, let's just run with our ideas? Now it's out in the public's talking about you, people are screenshotting it. Like, are you sure that making something to learn is fine? And, even if the learning happens, what does that even mean? What is the learning? So I think that the problem with this, the Lean Canvas identifies assumptions. Again, if you go to my Lean Startup article on Medium, which I read last week or so on the show, the Lean Canvas was stolen from somebody else. So basically, Lean UX was mostly stolen from the Lean Startup. The Lean Canvas was stolen from the Lean Business Model Canvas, which was somebody else's work. And so I continue to be unimpressed by Jeff, and he can continue to fall in love with himself as much as he would like, but I'm not buying it. So I think teams struggle with Lean because they're focused on outputs and not interested in learning. The word learning is being thrown around here as if we really understand what this means. And it says they want to ship things fast. That's why Lean is useful. It brings the design team into the agile cadence. This reminds me of the time my biological father said, Raymond Burr is the killer at the beginning of the movie. That's why it's called Rear Window. And I said, I haven't seen the movie. Can you please bridge those two ideas for me? And he goes, oh, you watched the murders through a rear window. I said, okay, thank you for bringing these together, because if you haven't seen the movie, what he said makes no sense. So that's what I hear in my head. That's why they call it Rear Window. When I see, that's why Lean is useful. It brings the design team into the agile cadence. No, it doesn't. Agile is incredibly complex, especially the way it's implemented. And the word lean does not bring a UX team into agile like poof, magic. Wow. We said the word lean and we said we'll try to work fast. Now we're in the agile cadence. It takes so much more than that to get anything related to UX into an agile cadence. Darren.
Yeah, you reminded me of something I forgot to mention, and piggybacking on Debbie's presented remark about how that lean UX is neither lean nor UX. This bit about the learning, the phrase there in the question about learning is supposedly a part of, well, not supposedly, it is. If something is learnable, it's considered to be usable by old standards in general. However, if we're going to do UX right, it is our job to optimize cognitive load. Well, if somebody has to, to learn how to use your design, every time you bring learning into an experience, cognitive load expands. So why in the world, if we're going to do UX the right way, and if we're going to be ethical in what we do, why would we opt into rolling something out that people have to learn instead of making it more intuitive? Isn't that what we're supposed to be trying to do? So choosing to make something learnable and not trying to make something intuitive, that's a bad approach. So just wanted to throw that out there. I forgot to mention it.
Yeah, and I wanted to add one more thing, which was that I had a little bit of a back and forth conversation with someone who commented on my Lean Startup Medium article, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we really love Lean UX here," and blah 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 blah. And I said, "Would you mind watching at least some of my video on Lean UX?" And I sent him the old one. Lean UX is neither Lean nor UX, which is like episode 35 or something really old. And he came back and he said, "Okay, I watched 20 minutes of that, and we're not doing anything that book says." So what I find is that people are saying Lean UX, even though they don't mean the book, they don't mean Jeff, they don't mean the Lean UX canvas. People think that Lean UX is just doing UX in a stripped down, skimped on, super fast way. And I just want to warn everybody, number one, that's not Lean UX, because Lean UX is a model that Jeff proposes in his book. So let's not call it Lean UX. And number two, doing UX in a stripped down, skimped way is not the way to go. That's certainly not going to bring us to customer centricity, and it's certainly not going to bring us to disruption and innovation. It's going to be incremental changes and woo-woo, we got a 0.5%, and it's not going to be, so I hope your company's not pretending to be disruptive or innovative, because you're not going to be that. And let's just thank Solomon for his great comment, which says, "Why does design need to be brought into the agile cadence in the first place? And since I believe in modified tri-track agile, my answer is it doesn't. Tri-track agile says that UX design and UX research are on completely separate tracks from engineering, and they have their own cadence." Nick, something to add?
I put up my four watchwords, right? If you ever hear the word lean, canvas, some form of thinking, be it product or design thinking, or UX UI, run away. It's a red flag. If there's there's two or more of those, like sprint, like you're gone.
But
easy.
But Nick, I have the mindset. You have to put mindset of lean thinking. I have a lean thinking mindset, y'all. So to the original person, you might not be able to necessarily win those arguments, because some people are just stuck in their beliefs and don't want to think critically. I do find that in many cases, the people who are into the Lean UX book and some other people I don't like are sometimes not thinking critically. But good luck, and contact me directly if you think I can be more helpful. And with that, let's go to our next question, because we have so many coming in. And Emmanuel in the LinkedIn chat says, "I love Darren's comment on how learning increases cognitive load." Yeah. Okay, a question we got anonymously earlier says, "How can I respond to feedback for my design, which is regarding the things out of my control, such as questioning the requirements which are not coming from me?" So it sounds like somebody designed something and they got bad feedback on it, but they had to put that in the design because it was prescribed in the requirements. Wrong, wrong, wrong. So the chat room is so hot tonight. Dr. Giles says, "I have a millionaire mindset. My bank account doesn't share my mindset."
I have an overdraft mindset
then. Okay, so who wants to talk about how we can handle, I mean, to me, this is like two people to handle. We have to handle the requirements people, and we have to handle the person who gave us some tough design feedback.
I'll go with this. There's so many angles on this quickly, but the requirements, where they come from, they should have come from user needs and user research. They probably came from maybe, let's say, a more top-down product manager, possibly. The way I would handle this and the way I have handled this is quite simply, you point them at that person that says, product manager gave me those, blah, blah, blah. If they're not testing well, that's the better way to do this, is to say, look, these requirements come back. people are bouncing off page, they hate it, they can't understand it, etc. That's the quick and dirty answer.
Like it. Darren, something to add to that? How do we handle this?
Yeah. Oh, real quick to Miguel's comment you just posted. UX maturity is bad in at least 80 to 90% of the UX world.
Yeah, everyone keeps asking me, where should
sure.
I work? And I'm like, in hell. Like, there is no
It's
great
bad.
company right now.
It's bad.
And when you find it, tell us, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you for putting that back up here.
Yeah, sorry.
There's like Dr. Nick said, you can have them talk to the requirements people, but also what I would, if somebody can, because I know this is really high level, the way it's presented here, we don't give the details. If somebody just gave this blanket, maybe they called a couple things out, I would start asking more questions again, which is why we have to be so good at being inquisitive. What do you mean by that? What is it about this part? What is it in the design that you don't like? Can you break that down for me? Get as much detail as you can. You're going to respond to things as much as you can the right way and give the proper responses. But a lot of times, I've seen people give responses to a design because it's based out of a bias. They're not really responding to the design. I'm sure we've all seen that as well too. They didn't get their way and they're just waiting on an opportunity to say something. It's like the student that at school that doesn't do the work and then the professor gives them a bad grade and they use the teacher evaluation to get revenge on the, that kind of foolishness. So if they have an issue with the design, can you break that? Can you explain it for me a little bit more? I want to understand it because our research has shown based on the same thing that you're talking about, the research has shown that this works. What is it that you have an issue with? Because we're going to validate our design based on the data that comes out of the research, not on your feedback. Because I get the impression this is stakeholder feedback and not feedback coming from research participants. See, so that they're weighted differently. And a lot of us give too much weight to stakeholder feedback. And that becomes a problem. And I'll end my comments there.
Nick, something to add?
Nope.
Okay. Then I'm going to jump in. Oh.
No, actually, no. You know what? Let's move on.
All right, I'm going to just quickly say that to me, the question is, if I got negative feedback on a design, and especially something I had to design in because requirements prescribed it, to whoever is giving me that negative feedback, my question is the problem the concept or my execution of it? Because if the problem is, well, we like the concept, but we don't like your execution of it, then usually my next question is, and what about my execution do you think will make users disconnect? I try to bring it back to the users instead of what don't you like. I try to say, what here isn't going to work for users? And well, I don't like the way, well, hold on. I dig it. You don't like it. That's fair. But what about the users? What about the users won't they like? So I do try to bring it back to the users. And then the other thing there is, if the problem is the concept in general, like, why are we even building this? This makes no sense. Like, it's not, the problem isn't your concept. The problem isn't your execution. The problem is the idea or the concept. Then I say, great. Would you like to come with me and talk to product and BA and whoever wrote these requirements or stories and talk to them about revising the requirements? Could we talk to them about being solution agnostic? Can we talk to them about what the intention of this concept or idea was that they put it in as a prescribed requirement? Maybe we can get them to shift that to more of a general intention or something solution agnostic. Will that person join me in battling the requirements? So I would want to take responsibility for something that isn't mine. But if the concept is freaking awesome and I just happen to do a poor execution of it, then I would like more feedback on that. I think that's what I would say.
I would just
go ahead.
A quick thing there. This is what I often call a design consideration. Might be some people could frame that as a requirement, etc. I have this on my current project where I've got people from another side of the business who are internals challenging some fundamentals of this side of the project. What they don't have is the perspective that we have. And so there are design considerations, including security, InfoSec, CyberSec type stuff, that from the user land perspective or the product perspective, it doesn't seem like a major concern, but architecturally it's a big deal, and that ends up in user land. So sometimes a bit of education, a bit of sharing, a bit of show and tell can go a really long way to say, look, we know this is suboptimal from in user land. There's law, there's regulation, there's X, Y, Z, there's whatever, that this had to be done. And as Debbie has said, we just had to execute it in the best possible way.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, bad timing,
or
Debbie,
push
but...
back. Yeah, no, or push back against overprescribed requirements, as I like to call them. Okay, thank you. Our next question says, what would be your suggestions for a design critique session presentation? I wasn't totally sure what this person meant, but I didn't know if you guys would read it and make sense out of it. And these come in anonymously, so I can't write them back and be like, what?
Right. Yeah, I'm seeing 4 words, and I think there's a simpler way to say it to make it clearer.
Okay.
Are we saying, how do I present for critique?
Yeah, right. I didn't know if it was how to present for critique or something else, but try answering it based on what you think it means, and we'll all do our best.
Okay. How do you the way I'm getting this is, how do you present your designs to stakeholders? How do you present your designs for review? We know it's going to be a presentation, so we don't have to say the word presentation. So that's the way I'm taking it. And I see Dr. Nick nodding too. You're going to make sure that you are, 2 things come to mind. In the presentation itself, you want to make sure that you are going back to present the problem. What design problem or challenge were we facing? What was our approach? You were really high level at that point. It's almost like the beginning of a report that you would give. You're just doing it presentation style. So you got to start off with the summary. Where do we start the trip? Why were we going there? Then you want to talk about what we're doing on the design, and you want to walk them through the design, possibly. And of course, I'm high leveling. I'm time boxing this. You would possibly highlight certain key tasks that were a problem before. Say if it was a redesign or something that the team was concerned about, you could present those. You could give them a walkthrough because when you say that, it could be a 1-hour meeting, it could be a 3-hour meeting. So the breadth is going to be dependent upon the time that you have to work with, and so that's going to determine how much you're going to be able to share in the midst of the design. You're going to leave. I always recommend leaving the door open for. I tell people, because I like informal presentations. Stop me if you have a question anytime. Feel free to stop me. None of that. Wait, unless we're short for time. Don't. That's the only time I'll say, please wait till the end and hold your questions. Otherwise, feel free to stop me anytime, and we can agree, or we can address.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna respond to that.
I was wondering if you'd want to respond to that.
Somebody push my buttons on that. I'm not a fan. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I am not a fan of anybody in UX circle. I'll get back to my answer in a moment. I'm not a fan of anybody. We are under siege in UX. I have another post about siege in UX going out, the scheduled to go out today, if it didn't go out already. I am not a fan of anybody in the world of UX that thinks that we are just on this cloud 9 of UX operation. They're like, you got rose-colored glasses on, and I'll leave it at that. But you want to present everything. You want to answer questions. We have to be good at answering questions before they're asked. Present how you conducted any research, how you conducted it, what your findings were. Present your designs. Open the floor for a conversation. Now, that second part that I mentioned, I like recording it, whether it's a Zoom or some other means. Record it, because there's always somebody that does not make those presentations, and you want them to hear it from you. So make sure that you provide, if you're doing it by Zoom, especially today during the pandemic, go ahead and have that record it on Zoom or whatever your WebEx or whatever it is, and make that available to people who did not attend so they can hear it from you. Because if you don't, by the time they see what you had to say in your presentation, it will have changed. That old game we played when we were kids, where you sit in a circle and you tell the person next to you, and then by the time it gets all the way around, it's different. That happens in the business world. So Let them get a genuine presentation from you, nice, full of integrity. This is what I was trying to address. This is what we were doing with the design. This is where we arrived. We've gone through X number, list out the people that you've talked to who've bought in and given you signed off on it. Put all of that in your presentation and then get your questions.
All right, Nick, anything to add?
A presentation should be like a mini skirt. It should be long enough to cover the subject, but short enough to hold the attention. Now, that's a pretty crass analogy, right?
I don't have the drum thing.
That's also probably not actually that politically correct anymore, but hey, I'm an old guy. But the intention there is actually spot on, and Darren was talking about it just now. I think timing is everything. What you need to have, you can't show them the thing too early, otherwise they'll just latch onto that and be thinking about their own stuff without, and you'll just be wow, 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 wow. It's like they won't hear anything. So you need a really short, snappy intro that does all the things that Darren said about setting them up and the context and all of that. But then you need to get into, when I say the money shot, the main event quickly, otherwise you're losing attention. So that's what I mean about timing being so critical. Think of it kind of like a portfolio or a pitch where you're selling, but you're not biasing it, you're just presenting it, but you're presenting it in the right order so that the audience has the best opportunity to make their own mind up, if you know what I mean. Otherwise, like I said, they'll latch onto it and they're looking at the font and the color, and then they're completely missing out all the user needs and all the other stuff that you're talking to them about because they're in visual mode and they're visually deconstructing. So just really think about your timings. If it's a super critical one, like you're doing it to see C-levels and stuff like that, don't feel ashamed or embarrassed to rehearse it, because having your patter down and just being slick and concise is really important. If the more higher you up you go in the atmosphere, the less patience people have, and the more efficient you have to be with your delivery time and language.
All right, I've got nothing to add to that, so I'm going to bring up the next question. Thanks. All right. This one says, I have a problem. I work on a project almost alone, but it hasn't been touched for a long time. Then a coworker, who is a senior to me, asked me to give all designs to her so she can work on the project. But my manager didn't inform me that I won't, but she will work on it. When I asked her, she said she thinks she will be the right person to continue on it. I feel I'm not good enough to work on it because my manager gave this topic to her, but I didn't get any communication about it from my manager. How can I stand for myself and get the project back? I've written a bunch of notes down on this one, but I'm going to let Nick start.
I'll go quick. Look, don't feel bad. You're personally, professionally invested in your work, but also think about the traffic management or the resource management of your company and your team. Things need to get juggled around. Yes, you feel ownership. It's your baby per se, and you've put your love and attention and a lot of work into that. To see somebody else carry it on of questionable skill or more skill, I don't know, but it's a control thing. For me, I'm not very concerned about that, and my advice to you would be I would be less concerned about that, because things happen. Sometimes it's not a reflection of you and your skills. It's not something you should critique yourself hard on. It's you're working on something else that is a higher priority than that thing. They don't want to pull you off of the thing you're on to put you back on the old thing, so they're going to put somebody else on it. And I think that's a perfectly reasonable, logical way of managing the situation. But the important part is your mental health and not beating yourself up for that. That's resource management. That's, from what I can understand, is in no way commentary on your quality of work or output. It's just the hands and the brains that they've got around to handle it, to carry on the work, to deliver.
Darren, something to add?
Yes. I definitely agree with everything Dr. Nick said. And yeah, don't beat yourself up about that. Part that jumps out at me was I feel I'm not good enough to work on it because my manager gave the topic to her. Giving it to someone else, number one, because I'm going to go a slightly different way at the end, giving the fact that they gave it to somebody else is not necessarily a black mark, so to speak, for lack of a better phrase or word, to you. It just gave the work to somebody else. I mean, nobody was doing the work for a while. I'm assuming that you were told to stop doing the work at one point in time, other priorities, things of that nature. The part about this that jumped out at me, that sort of red flags thing for me, is that when you ask the person that's going to be taking on the work about it, that person said that they feel that they're the right person to work on it. There's a disconnect there in my mind. I would want to talk to the manager. Can you please shed some light on this for me? Let me know what's going on with this, because I really love this. I understand if somebody else has to take on the work, but can you please explain to me why? Because I feel that there's some communication that didn't happen here. I would like to know why. Can you please let me know? And that's me and my little, I like throwing I call them truth grenades out there. And let me see what's going to come out of this, because a good manager is going to be transparent with you and let you know, hey, it has nothing to do with you. This is what's going on. Forget about what that person said. They can say whatever they want to say. They're not the manager. This is why I made the decision for that person to do it. I feel you're more valuable over here right now. You're doing a great job, yada, yada, yada. These types of things should come forth. I think it's really a red flag that person had to say something. And there's so much going on today in the world of UX where there's a gross lack of EQ throughout the discipline. People like to engage in one-upsmanship. They like to be the person who brought something to light, all that kind of goofy stuff. So you have no idea why that person said what they said about the project. The manager is the key. I wouldn't want to find out if that manager is not transparent. You have some decisions to make.
Yeah,
that manager got some, as Rick Ricardo would say, that manager got some explaining to do.
Yeah, these echo the notes that I wrote down. I wrote, ask for feedback, turn it into a learning opportunity. But I also wrote another thing down, which is, why is it important to get that project back? You know, I think it's important to be on a project, and it's important to do work, and it's important to get feedback from your manager. And I think your manager was wrong to not be like, hey, so-and-so, we're actually going to give this project to this other person, and here's why. But why is it important to get it back? If there is another person on your team who's taking it over, and the manager decided that, it's not like your coworker stole your project, the manager evidently decided this. If the manager thinks there is a better person to work on this, as Dr. Nick said, it's resource allocations, but what is up with the pride? Yes. So be careful of feeling like that was mine and you took it from me and I want it back. Maybe you don't want it back. Maybe the next thing you're going to be put on is going to be even better. So I would say, if a manager makes such a decision, even if we don't like it, understand that and move on, and be careful of those emotions that can make us feel like something that was mine was taken from me. This is a job. And as Nick said, protect your mental health over everything, and just be careful of feeling like, hey, that was mine, because now it's not, and something else will be yours. Nick.
One last thing to add is, and I think we all do it, I know I do this, you may be interpreting things wrongly, in that maybe your manager, through lack of communication, actually values your work so much that they want to keep you on the current project that you're on, the new project, because your value is there and you're the best person to be doing that on the most important project. And the other one that you've had to back burner is of lower priority. So she wants her best person on the job. And that's 100% in support of your skills, not being critical of them. It's just, there's no communication. So
right. We don't know until we know.
You just assume the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we're going to move to what might be an easy question. We've got a question from Vicky Shen that says, best online courses for UX. Darren, you're laughing. You can go first.
Yeah, there's a few different directions we can go with this. I'll make reference to I did a talk. It's available on YouTube. I did a talk on YouTube.
Thanks, Nick.
Here's a clue.
And it's called The Problem with UX Education. And in that talk, you'll find a person that called themselves posting a rebuttal, and the person got 0 likes. Just so you know what the value is there. They were just angry. Okay, I got 26 years of experience versus no years of experience. Who you gonna call? Who you gonna listen to? So, but you're right. But I will call out a few things with some caveats. I still think the Interaction Design Foundation, even though they're sort of going off the rails a little bit, does have a lot of good information to tap into and should be part of anybody's personalized learning network. It is just phenomenal information that a lot of people are not into it. Some people are tapping into it, putting it in their books and selling it. But you can get out there and just and get a lot of it for free.
Where can we find this talk you just referenced?
No.
Yeah, and of course Seth is joking with us.
Yeah, I know, you silly. You can find the talk. Look up UX Uncensored, the UX Uncensored channel on YouTube, and you'll find all my talks, and you'll find that talk there, that one amongst others. But there's a couple that are talking about education in general. Another place, and I know Debbie's not a big fan of this one, but I like it because, and I'm the PhD education guy. That I think that Susan Weinshank's work over at
Team W,
the Brain Lady, pardon?
Team
the
W
TeamW.com.
Yes,
she's known as Brain Lady, but the TeamW.com. I think that there's a lack of, you don't get to practice a lot of what's there, but if you approach it from the perspective of, I remember sitting in a lecture hall with 350 students listening to a psychology lecture. It's like that. You're going to get a lot of principles, and then it's up to you to apply yourself. It's just one way that education can be presented. If you think of it as, man, I didn't get to practice anything, you're not going to get that. But if you think of it as a lecture where you're getting a lot of foundational stuff, and then it's up to you to engage from an application perspective and then get feedback from peers or other people later, then you can complete that whole circle. I still think that, especially her brain and behavioral science certification, I'm just in love with that. There's some dynamite information that you just don't get anywhere else on the web. One other Dave that I start recommending, two more. David Travis has a course on Udemy. He is the only Udemy UX education person I support. He's the only one. You have a course on Udemy?
I put a couple of mine up on there because it's a great place to be discovered. Well, I just put my new Acture courses up there. Yeah, I've got a couple of my Acture stuff up there. Oh, and I think I put attracting and retaining UX talent up there, just again so people will find me in more places. So, but yeah, I don't think of myself as a big Udemy instructor. Go ahead.
So there's two people that I support on Udemy. There's David Travis. There's Debbie Levitt. I also, and it's another one with a caveat, the program that it's on Coursera through University of Michigan. And the reason it's still another one of those peer reviewed things, which is a little problematic.
Yeah, it's Coursera.
But if you bring people into it who will get seniors who will give you feedback and add that of your own doing, and go through the process. They do have real instructors. It is offered in conjunction with an accredited institution. So no, Seth's joke there. No Google. That Google stuff is for the birds. Don't do that. One more though, I almost forgot. Cornell has an eCert certification in UX that's available. You don't have to have, it's not a grad cert. It's just a certification. It's a 9-month program. They don't say you're going to learn everything you need to know in 9 months, but they do give you a really, really nice foundation in UX. It only costs $3,600 American. You can't beat that as far as the cost and things like that, especially in comparison to so-called boot camps. You can't beat that. They're not telling you you're certified.
Who was the last person you recommended? The Michigan one?
Cornell University of Michigan and Coursera, and then there's the Cornell program is a pretty nice program. It's a good foundation for somebody who's getting going, but you don't want to get a degree, you don't want to break the bank, but you don't want to waste money. If you go to a boot camp, you're going to waste money. If you went to a boot camp, you went, it's done. Let's see what we can do to help you go forward. If you haven't gone yet, please don't go. Respect yourself, respect your pocketbook, respect your mental health. Don't go to the boot camp. Don't feed the monster. So those are my recommendations for that. And then you got to build a personalized learning network. You're going to keep tapping into Debbie's show. You're going to find people that you can actually get information from that will help you to become better. Not these 1-2 month, 3 year, 4 year folks that are out here trying to present themselves as being experts in UX, and they're not. Then when you talk to them privately, they feel like they have imposter syndrome. Okay, you can't be both. So let's get it done, do it the right way.
And thanks to Seth for plugging my Acture course. I now put my core skills Acture course here on YouTube. So if you go to the Acture Rapid Prototyping playlist, I recently put up 13 hours of Acture videos. That's how I spent Christmas. We have a quick follow-up question that I think we should answer while we're here, though I know Nick hasn't spoken yet, but NN group. So Nick, add to this and NN group.
Okay, I was going to, as Darren was talking and you guys were talking, I was trying to come up with online courses and things to suggest to you. But then I had this epiphany. You cannot teach UX. Okay? What you can do is you can teach all the component parts that contribute to UX, but you can't teach it in itself. The UXy bit comes from doing. And that's why there's so much of this it depends stuff. With that said, yeah, it does. It depends. Like I said, I come at it from a psychology angle or an HCI angle. Other people come at it from a more computer science or neuroscience or sociology or anthropological views, perspectives. And those are things that you can teach. But the UX bit, this is why there's such a shenanigan going on, because people are all claiming to know what it is and teach this thing, which they don't know what it is. They've never done it. And you can't really teach it because it's... Darren?
I was just going to say, that dribble that we just learned about, Debbie and I and some other people, we just learned a dribble has a thing now where they're saying you can learn product design. What is it, Debbie? 6 weeks?
I don't know, but we've
something
already
ridiculous like that.
I think we roasted it last week on the reaction stream.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, if you want an
actual Sorry.
If you want an actual concrete thing to go investigate, 12 years ago when I started at my first agency job, the guy who taught me good UX at the outset, he had just completed his Human Factors International Certified Usability Analyst course. And from what I can tell from the materials and from the way that he was, and he was your absolute typical designer and is now a proper decade-old proper UX person. I think that's a decent course, or I think it bears investigation. I can't tell you. It's been over a decade. But I think it was impressive back then. The world is a very different place now, but the need is still there. So I would definitely check that out. I don't know what Darren.
It's just not online. You can't do HFI online though. I mean, maybe during the pandemic. I don't know.
I would think in the pandemic they're doing it now.
They're probably, but in general, when say pandemic's over, they want you to come and be there in person. I do like HFI way better than somebody mentioned NNG in one of the notes that Debbie posted. NNG, I have never, everybody I've ever worked with, 2 things about HFI, 3 things. Everybody I've ever worked with that was, I know your experiences might be different, but everybody I've ever worked with that went through HFI was an absolute joy to work with. They knew their stuff. They were great teammates. They supported everything. We got some fantastic things done to this day. Number 2, they are the only company that I've ever seen in recent years that is embraced, or you'll see it on a job application for UX. That actually have seen people ask if you have an HFI certification specifically. And number 3, they are the only big name educational resource, even association-based resource, that takes a stand for the integrity of the discipline. And I love them for that. They even have a test. You have to pay for it, of course. They have a test that you can give to applicants to make sure you're not hiring posers, retrofits, and upstarts, to make sure you're hiring genuine UX people. I've never seen anybody else offer a test like that, paid or not. And people, of course, judge folks the wrong way, but that's just, I love HFI for that. That institutionalization of UX book is what I use for years to manage UX at the companies that I worked at. I love their resources.
Cool. What I would add to that is, first of all, I saw the Team W courses, and Susan was kind enough to give me some free access to them because I said I would like to see them to see if I can recommend them or not. Pretty much what Darren said, I felt like I was in a university lecture, but I didn't feel like I had heard anything actionable. I remember one point she was like, design thinking is not considered a UX process. And then the next thing I knew, the video faded out. And I was like, well, what is a UX process? Are you going to tell people? And so I felt like while she's obviously smart and obviously capable and well liked, and you can't say a bad word about her, I didn't really think that the courses were something that I could recommend because I felt like people were going to end up with extremely high level things, but without even, in some cases, definitions of things. I was very surprised at some of the stones she left unturned when the whole point of the video lecture was to teach you this thing. And so you can certainly check out Team W on Darren's recommendation. I didn't love it. And as for what Nick said, I think that ultimately he's certainly right. You do have to learn UX by doing, but I think that we can learn principles, concepts, models. Stay away from anything that says it's a framework or a template or a canvas, but we can certainly learn foundations of psychology through reading books and courses, but still how you apply this information is where this is going to matter. And that's why I always tell people, get a coach who can oversee your work, someone who's going to look at your work somewhat frequently. Don't just have someone who looks at your work at the end of the project like a lot of boot camps do. You need feedback all the way through. I see an anonymous question coming in. So Darren, do you want to add something while I grab that question?
Yeah, and you probably knew I was going to say this too. Of course, I'm the PhD education guy. Proper learning experiences consist of presentation, application, and feedback. You can have an educational experience that might lack something, but it won't be a complete experience. So the best ones always give you a chance to partake of information. Then it gives you a chance to practice what you've been presented with, and then you get feedback on how well or how not so well you applied yourself, so that gives you the opportunity to grow. That's the full circle of an educational or a learning experience, the LX, if you will, just so everybody knows that. So wherever you tap into, keep that in mind and then judge your learning experiences accordingly. It'll help you to make good or better selections going forward.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I'm going to move on to the next question. But first, just a quick break to remind everybody, deltacx.com/links has everything you want to know about this stream. It's got the upcoming calendar of events, how to join the Slack channel, how to tip us if you really want to, how to everything. If you have a question about this stream, it's probably answered here. Do I give coaching? How do you get coaching? So just please jump onto deltacx.com/links. That should answer everything. And of course, please find 3 people who don't know about the channel and tell them, because here we have the fun and we give the good advice. I'm going to put up the next question. All right, hold on. Send. Okay, I have to press a button that says send. Okay, somebody named Bada Bing Bang Boom says, I don't know who this is, but they were in the YouTube channel and it says, hi guys, I lead a team, visual and graphic, and we usually have a lot of free time given we are client dependent. How can I utilize this time so all of us can grow and challenge ourselves? I think the thing we don't know, and I don't know if you're still here, Bada Bing, do you mean grow within visual design or grow more into UX or grow in some other direction? So I think that's a piece of information we're missing, and I don't know if you're still here to answer that. But based on the foundation, the face value of the question, does anybody want to start? Nick?
I'll go for it. Let's assume it's UX for the moment because we're all UX people and this is all about UX, CX. I would clearly the thing that's usually missing from a design team's toolbox is research and user centricity. It's that whole top down versus bottom up. So I would use that free time to start exploring bottom up ways of doing things. I would spend time talking to people, observing people, seeing what happens when you test your hypotheses or your assumptions. Rather than whatever top down or way of working currently, inspiration, mood boards, all the other things. Try it from the other way around. Try it from user needs. Go speak to some people, find out what their needs and their pain points are, and then practice designing, i.e., operationalizing those needs in your designs. Because that's the core of UX. So you've got one half of it already because you're all awesome designers. So if you can start to shift away from such a top-down mindset, and I'm sorry I used the M word, but you know what I mean, a top-down mentality, into much more bottom-up, or balance your processes with bottom-up insight, your whole team is going to excel themselves. Your products, your services, your outputs are just going to be better.
I want to name my band Bottom Up Insights.
You get caught in lots of filters.
Where's Ben Smithwell when I need him? What? Darren, how can you improve upon this without going straight into the gutter?
There's we don't know how big the team is. I'm like Dr. Nick. I assume it's UX. They want to grow when it comes to UX. The thing that came to my mind was schedule regular, like it's like an internal UX meetup that the group comes together just to learn. Things like getting a team account with All You Can Learn. It's not Jared Spool speaking. There's some great speakers out there. And you can take in some of those videos. They can be a little, this is just an idea. It doesn't have to be All You Can Learn, but something like it, where you can tap into it, get to come together and watch some of Debbie's videos as a team. Come together and it's just a learning time. There are so many resources. There's a lot of bad stuff out there, but there's some good stuff too. And if you bring these things, bring the team together, hey, it's our time once every 2 weeks. Let's watch a video and then let's talk about it afterwards. Let's synthesize let's talk among ourselves and sharpen ourselves. And that time can be very well spent. Now, that's another reason that's just good to always have a senior around, which a lot of companies are not doing these days. If you have a senior, the senior can help everybody level set. A lot of companies miss the mentoring because they won't hire seniors, not real ones. They hire people and give them a senior title, but they're not seniors. So these things would be fantastic. These are just ways that you can grow. There's so many videos, so many presentations, so many talks available on YouTube. Come together and watch them. You don't even have to pay. Forget about All You Can Learn. Forget I said that. You don't even, because you have to pay for that. There's a lot of stuff you can get and you can share it, and your team can grow by leaps and bounds and bring dynamite value to the organization. And when you start bringing value, you start learning more and bringing more value, guess what happens? Your team's going to grow even more because you're accomplishing more. So just something to consider.
Nick, you had something to add before I jump in?
Yeah, just super quickly. Agencies that I've been at have things like lunch and learns, or picnics was another way of doing it, where you bring your lunch into a room or go outside, what have you, and one person is going to do a show and tell basically of something that they've gone away to learn about. That's such a lovely, low-key, easy access, friendly way to do things, that everything that Darren said, if you wrap it up in a nice little brand called, the Design Team Picnic or something, weekly picnic, where one of you goes, right, today I'm going to talk to you about user centricity or blah, blah, blah. It's because it's audience led. It's super powerful. So I don't want to. I'll shut up there. But everything Darren has said, and with a nice little name on it, sort of thing.
Yeah. Again, not knowing in what direction a visual or graphic design team wants to go, the main thing that popped into my head was accessibility. I find that there's just too many visual or UI designers who don't seem to have had accessibility training. Whether you look at WebAIM, so I should put up the not sponsored, whether you look at WebAIM or DEQUE, DEQUE, or some of the other ones.
DQ.
What?
Yeah, DQ. Sorry, they're here in Michigan. They're
Yeah,
near
I
my
met
heart.
them. I saw them when I saw you. I met them at the Agile Lean conference I spoke at.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Um, yeah, so DEQUE, and they've got a whole library of training, and I think they give access to the whole library for something like 300 American dollars. So you can get a mountain of accessibility training for not too bad a price. Make sure you know about colors. Make sure you learn about the new color contrast that's coming out, a new way to calculate it. So I find too many visual designers don't know, and they end up designing things that are bad for accessibility. So, be careful. That's my suggestion. Okay, I'm going to cross that off my list. All right, this is the next question that came in through the YouTube chat, and thanks for the person who asked it, who said their name was M. So M says, my team is starting a massive piece of IA work this year, basically starting from scratch. It's an e-commerce site. Any IA course you can recommend? Currently, we just have Jared Spool's All You Can Learn. Obviously, I have a long and ugly history with Jared Spool, so I would, under no circumstances, would I be recommending his All You Can Learn, unless you're going through some of his All You Can Learn to find all of the places he's stolen from me, which sadly in the last year or two is in almost every video he's put out. So I don't recommend Jared Spool for anything. Let me make that really clear. When it comes to IA, we have a few videos on the channel about IA. These are certainly free. So, I mean, you can always go to YouTube, type Delta CX IA. You should see Abby Covert. You should see Jorge. You should see a couple of IA videos that I did. But I think ultimately when it comes to IA, I've not found a lot of good courses. I've even asked Abby. There don't seem to be a lot of good courses right now. I think for the most part, spend your time reading the Polar Bear book. Go find the O'Reilly book that says Information Architecture for the Web and Beyond. That's the latest edition. The early editions say Information Architecture for the World Wide Web. You want the book, the O'Reilly book with the polar bear on it, the latest edition, which I think is 2016 or 17. It is a very long book. Start reading it. I think that is going to be your best bet. And of course, I'm not sure what Jared Spool's got about IA, but just knowing my relationship with him, I wouldn't even trust him even if he taught something correct about IA. Just can't stand that man under any circumstance. Darren.
Yeah, I have a book recommendation list on Medium that I've got that big list, and then I've got the segmented list, and one of them is dedicated to information architecture. So there's a series of different books. The Polar Bear book, of course, is there. It's one of them. There are a lot of under the radar books about information architecture that are out there. Nielsen Norman Group does have a course on information architecture that, just like Debbie said, there's out for some reason, people aren't covering it. Some people have actually tried to take advantage of the fact that IA is not getting a lot of coverage. And that's when they started that OOUX foolishness where they're trying to rebrand IA.
UX.
It's just IA. It's just IA, folks. Don't fall for it.
Yeah.
But check out that link. Look up, go to uxuncensored.medium.com. Look up my list on information architecture books. You'll find a huge list, pretty nice list. And there's one book that is out of print. If you ever want to dive into something, you ever find a copy of this?
Wow.
This book impacted me tremendously. This is by Earl Moreau. This book impacted me tremendously. You see all the little tabs and stuff from early in the day when I was first learning more about information architecture. There's some fantastic stuff out there. Christina Watke's initial book about blueprints for the web was a book that was dedicated. It was out half the thickness of the Polar Bear book, and I actually found it in my day more palatable, you can say. So there are some good books out there: Pervasive Information Architecture, Ambient Findability. There's really a lot of good stuff.
And
out there.
Michelle Packern wrote something on LinkedIn, so I can't put it up on the screen, but she wanted to correct me, so I'm happy to be corrected. She said the
Hey,
all you can
Michelle.
learn, yeah, she said the all you can learn platform is Jared Spool's platform, but it's not necessarily his content. And
Right.
that there are
Right.
other people, that there are other courses and people teaching there other than him. And Michelle said some of that content is great. So I would just be careful of Jared Spool as the human he is, but if there's other content on there and it's good, then certainly, I support that.
It is.
Seth
It
puts up
is.
Seth's got a comment here. Oops, and I accidentally took it off the screen. Seth says, and Michelle says, "Hi everyone." Seth says the concerning thing, not to bash anyone, is that IA is thought of as this special thing that one does only for a massive piece of work. IA should be the cornerstone of every single piece of UX work.
Yes. Yes, it
That was
is.
you were
Yes,
nodding
it
no, and
is.
I was like, Darren disagrees with Seth because you were
No,
nodding no, and I was like,
no.
oh no.
I'm shaking my head about the fact that of what people think. I agree with them wholeheartedly. People think that it's this special thing, and
Right.
folks don't do it. And actually, it's the product of information architecture is findability. Every experience has findability. How can you eliminate findability from your UX work? So yeah, he's absolutely right.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, to me, it's getting harder and harder to separate it from other things we do. Like it's not. It's so in there, and that's why you have to just know it. So I would also be a little bit concerned for the person who posted that you have a massive IA project and you're just now trying to learn about IA. This makes me wonder if you're at an agency and the agency took on a project and you are not well equipped for it. So, if that is the case, I would probably suggest that your agency go find an amazing information architect and bring them into the project as even part-time. Contact me. I can think of a few people who I know are available and looking for some consulting work. Find me, talk to me. But I'm a little worried that it sounds like we have a massive project and we need to hurry up and learn how to do this project that might not end up in very good results for the client. So I would see if you can be led by a seasoned professional. Okay, thanks. Moving
My turn. My
on.
turn.
Yeah.
Debbie
Oh,
just stole
sorry,
my
we forgot
thunder.
about you.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Debbie just stole my thunder.
I did. I'm sorry.
No,
I'll
you
give
actually
you
said what
some
I was about to
lightning
say.
instead. Where's my
Put the
lightning?
Can you put the question back up again though, quickly? Because there's something about this, right?
Yes, sure. Let
Imagine
me put that
somebody
back
said
up.
to you, "I need you to build a house," and you're like, "Well, hang on a second. Let me just go get some books to learn architecture." Right?
Right.
That's exactly what you're asking here, and that's why I was face palming and all over the place when this question got put up, because it's farcical. I'm sorry if I sound ranty, and it's not your fault. I'm not having to go at anybody here, but it's for me as a I want to say an established information architect, although I haven't done it regularly for years. But the first 5 or 6 years, every single project was IA first.
yes.
Like every single my portfolio is rammed full of early days, massive, scary IAs. Now the point about IA is you can read the book that Darren's got. You can read all these other books. It ain't going to help you put together your e-commerce store IA. It'll help you philosophically, but when you come down there and you're trying to work out either with cards or using tree jack or whatever it is that you're using to do the semantic sort, agreement becomes a problem. Semantics, it's a very deep specialist. Well, now it's specialist area. That's
Yeah.
not something you can acquire quickly. If you're building an e-commerce site, like I said, it's like learning to become a builder because I've got to build a house. It's like, no, you pay somebody who knows what they're doing. If you get this, okay, I was involved, I can talk about it now, in a multi-million-pound IA project for a major DIY, like Home Depot, if for Americans. It was for B&Q here in the UK. Which has got, I don't know how many it's millions of stock inventory items. The point being is that if you're finding a certain kind of a nail, that's one of the worst information architectures you can ever think about doing. They spent, I think it's 4 or 5 years working on that one, and a team and millions. It's fundamental to the business that they do. It's fundamental to the success of their business moving forwards. So I know nothing about your client. Everything that Debbie said is absolutely on the nail. She's very wise as our Debbie. The point is if it's an e-commerce site, it's that much more critically important. The one thing I do want to just quickly tag on is that what Darren was saying about findability is actually also so on the money. But it used to be in years gone past that search was much sexier and a thing. And it was like, we don't need to do IA as much because search is so advanced. And that was true. And SEO would take you from Google directly to your product page. And it still does to an extent. So some people have taken out the value of IA. However, you can never dismiss the value of finding stuff and organically browsing and finding stuff. That's just, IA needs to come back, but just don't discount it. Otherwise, all the bad things will happen that Debbie is saying. You just don't let the tail wag the dog on this one. Sorry, I'm ranting.
No, we're in agreement, and sorry I stole your
stuff.
thunder on that one. Didn't mean to.
That's okay.
Oh, we've got Giles commenting. Let's put up what he's saying. He said, I'm a qualified doctor. I can read a book about heart surgery. I would kill someone if I did heart surgery on my own after reading that book. I'm 100% certain. Do IA work is just a bit easier than heart surgery.
How scared would you be? It's like the pilot saying, we're just about to take off. I'm just learning how to fly. It's like, that doesn't give you any confidence.
Yeah. It's so many thoughts going through head. So to the person who posted this, I'm definitely for you learning about IA, and I encourage you to learn about IA. But if you or your whole team have not done IA work before, it's not a quickie online course. Really, there's nothing in CX or UX that you can learn to any decent level of proficiency, sorry to cover up Darren, with a quickie online course. That's right.
Yes, and sorry if I inferred that. It's never the case. You can't learn any of this stuff overnight. So, although people are trying to sell it, people are trying to sell it that way. You can't learn UX. You can't learn product design in 6 weeks. You can't learn UX in 6 months. Somebody once said you can learn UX in 9 days. That's why we're lifelong learners. So when I saw the question, I'm thinking, okay, they want to learn about IA, and I just went at it from that angle, just so I cover my tracks here. That's the thing. You want to learn about, but are you going to excel in IA on that current project? Probably not. Do what Dr. Nick said.
Risk.
Bring somebody in, start learning about it so your team can get better at it. But you're going to have to bring somebody in if you want to excel on that current project.
All right, moving on, kids. This one says, hey, folks, this is from Paul on LinkedIn. And he said, hey, folks, I follow all three of you on socials and enjoy seeing your comments and updates, finding them really insightful. Keep fighting the good fight. My question for you is, who else would you recommend to follow on social channels that I and others can continue to learn from? Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
I'm going to give a short.
To get good feedback.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Appreciate it. Nice to be appreciated, because we all get trolled a lot. We're doing this stuff for free and we get trolled a lot. That shouldn't happen. That doesn't add up.
Yeah.
I'm going to give my short answer first.
Yeah, please.
Anybody you figure out has some sense, connect with them. if they give myself a rim shot on that. Anybody that stands for the discipline, anybody that has a heart for the discipline, anybody that's genuine and demonstrates emotional intelligence, connect with them all. Connect with everybody. We're stronger as a group. I want to find as many pure-hearted UX folks, if I can call it that, as possible, and I want to connect with all of them. I want to hear from them. I want to hear what Debbie has to say. I want to hear what Dr. Nick has to say. I want to hear what all these other people have to say. There's a lot of people out there. We're in the minority. I will say that. When it comes to proper approaches, mindsets, things of that nature, we are in the gross minority. I have people who have access to me, they have access to Debbie, they have access to Dr. Nick, and don't listen to anything we say. And then you'll see them posting and liking other things that are absolutely asinine. When you see that kind of stuff, they got to go. But you find somebody that really appreciates sensibleness, connect with them. Keep it that simple.
Yep.
That's it.
Dr. Nick, anybody you suggest?
I mean, I'm trying to think of names, but if you're following the three of us, you'll at least on LinkedIn, you'll see all the other related activity.
Yep.
I mean, I can give you names like this. I'm a big fan of Sean McSharry. He's always talking sense and he's funny and he's a good guy, you know. And Joel Barr and kind of, you know, other friends. They're
David
all good
Rosenblatt.
people. Giles, who's on
Dr.
the call
Giles,
today.
yes.
Yeah, Dr. Giles.
Larry Marine, who's also a
agree.
friend of the show. You know what I mean? And I agree with Darren that they're very few and far between. But I would also be really careful in that there's some very, very well presented charlatans out there, and they're very, very convincing. And I've been had so many times. And then at conference or backstage, I've talked to them, and it's like the chink in the armor. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, you're a fraud. Shit, you got me. So, and I'm like a bullshit detector. It's what I do, and I get done all the time. So be really careful.
Yeah, thanks. I think what I would add to that, first, let me repeat some of the names Darren was saying. And Nick, Sean McSharry, he's been on, he was the guest on our UX and autism post. I usually like his stuff. Mostly I'm looking for critical thinking, and I'm looking for non-clickbait. So I'm looking for non-clickbait that has critical thinking. And so again, I'm following, of course, Darren, Dr. Nick, Larry Marine, Dr. Giles, who we've popped up a few times. I love Seth's post. We've popped up Seth a few times. If you see Seth Mbele, you want to follow him as well. I enjoy his posts. They're right up our alley. Seth, maybe we should add you to the group, and it should be Darren and Seth and Dr. Nick and me, and make a little Brady Bunch screen. Trying to think of who else on LinkedIn where I'm like, boy, am I happy to see that person posting. I don't feel like I say that a lot, but there's yeah, I have a new rule for myself. Once I get into bed, no more LinkedIn, because it is cluttered. Let me go through. Let me see who's in my feed right now, and if anything jumps. Oh, Sophie Fryermuth. I recommend Sophie Fryermuth a lot.
Yeah, Sophie's awesome.
Yeah, she's another person with great knowledge, great expertise, and a great personality.
I worked with her at Eurostar. I mean, we've worked on the same team together. She's, when I say, not battle ready. Do you know what I mean? I've seen her in action. She's fantastic. Definitely a big thumbs up.
Yeah. Jeremy, of course, Jeremy Kriegel, who Darren's working for right now. Seth says you can also really depend on Debbie to call out the frauds and charlatans. Sometimes it's good enough to know who to avoid to cancel out the noise. Udipta says Michelle Ronson, who's not a bad choice either. She's one L. So if you're looking for her online, she's Michelle with one L. Dr. Giles says, I try to be a voice of reason and champion of the best practice in the design of healthcare technologies and services. I think you're successful. I wanted to roll this out, even though it's going to cover up Darren. Oh, wrong one. I wanted to roll this out, even though it's going to cover up Darren. Look for anybody who is posting something meaningful, actionable, and helpful. You can usually tell clickbait when nothing is actionable. Somebody posts something, and if you're saying, well, now what do I do? Or what do I do about that? That's not actionable, and that's usually clickbait. So people who are just posting, you can do it, you're welcome here, you can fake it until you make it, you can do it. And I say, well, look, support is great, but what anybody could write that, and what does that mean, and what can I go and do? And I think especially in our industry, it's important to find the people who are really leaders and experienced, who can give you actionable advice. And no, the actionable advice isn't sign up for my course. The actionable advice is to actually help people know what to do next. I also love following Augie Ray. He's not UX, he's CX. But he talks about poor customer experiences all the time. He's a Gartner guy, but he's, in my opinion, better than Gartner. And I'm just looking because he showed up in my feed, and he's always he's got a post right now that he posted a few hours ago about customer centric decision making, about how people hate overdraft fees. So there you go, Nick. He's talking to you. Um,
Tell me
I have
about
to say, there's an Italian guy I follow, and I'm enjoying some of his posts, but they're in Italian, so that's not going to help you very much. His name is Andrea Mancini. Mancini is Mancini, but they're pretty much all in Italian. And yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm just kind of scrolling through my feed to see who pops up in my feed where I go, oh yeah, I'm happy to see that person pop up in my feed. There's a lot of people I follow who are okay, but there's a few people where I'm like, oh, I am happy to see that person. Not that many,
And the
but I
rest are a
love
bunch of
comments from Luca Paluso are hilarious. I have to find I have to find him. Luca, I think he popped up on one of yours the other day, maybe Nick. Luca Peluso.
I've heard that
Peluso.
name.
Yeah, I had a phone call with him. He's funny. He's funny, and he's smart, and he's cool. So he doesn't post very much, but he comments a lot, and it's fun to read his stuff. So
For those who were interested in CX, I'll give a shout out to the whole CXSM radio community, which is who I do my podcast through at Michigan State. And that's an actual global community of of CX practitioners. I'm the only UX person on that team. But if you can look up CXSM radio on LinkedIn, and you can actually find out about everybody's show. The most visible was a guy by the name of Nick Glimsdahl. And for those that don't know, CX is going through some of the same challenges we are in UX. So it's quite parallel. So you'll hear some things that you can definitely leverage on the UX side of things, especially from a strategic perspective.
Yep, great. All right, we've got two more questions, and knowing us, we'll be able to answer them in 25 minutes. Okay, this says, the team I'm part of creates tools for employees. However, our organization is measuring success based on customer-related metrics. Our team hasn't found a way to show how the UX work we do, improving employees' experience, can be translated to better metrics that the business is measuring. This affects how much resources and support we get from management. Do you have any advice? Oh, is it?
sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it just me? Nick, you first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, let's just deconstruct this a teeny bit. So, customer-related metrics, I'm assuming as some kind of self-reported thing, which again, has got limited value in my humble opinion. Behavioral measures I really do enjoy, or observed measures. So what you're really saying, I think, is you want to get to measure the actual thing that the tool is doing, rather than the person's subjective self-reported experience of it, i.e., is this tool helping them be more efficient, reduce costs, I don't know, be faster, do whatever the tool is there to support doing. So yeah, I would absolutely encourage you, the web analytics team or the business analysts, I don't know how you're set up there, to start to work backwards and look at their basic user needs and pain points of the role that they're doing, and that is the tool, how is the tool addressing those things, and then look to measure that thing. Right. I hope that makes sense. But it's like, if it's to bang nails in, you don't go, did it feel good in your hand? It's like, were you able to, how many nails did you drive in each day? Or how many bad nails were you not able to hit it? You know what I mean? How many times did it go wrong? That's a really shit analogy. So I'm really
Error
apologize for
prone.
that
I'm
one.
going to talk about that. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, but I'm done. But that was my point. You get where I'm going with.
Yeah, I'm going in the
Yeah.
same direction. Darren.
Yep, everything that Dr. Nick said, but I would encourage you to make it a point, even if you have to do this with your team, try to identify things that you're working on. I've worked in environments like this. Identify things that you're working on and how they connect the dots. How do they connect to these things, these other measurables that the C-suite is most aware of? We've got to know what's being impacted by what we do, and then that helps you to represent yourself better to management, so you can achieve these goals here. And it's important because you have to help people to understand. You're not going to help the company to understand your UX value by presenting it from a UX mindset. you have to do what I call speaking exec. And that means we got to translate some things. If we're working on this particular tool and it's helping the team to give information to our external customers faster, and that's generating more income for the business, then we got to connect those dots, and we need to understand that, and we need to do it early on, and we need to understand it and benchmark these things so that we always know when we're making impact and be ready to tell people when we want them to see it, not necessarily when they want to see it, if you get my drift. That way you can sell your value to the organization. Because if you just talk about your UX stuff and just use your UX buzzwords, your team's going to, it's a matter of time for your team starts getting cut. You got to start learning their language, and that's part of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wrote down. And anyone who has seen episode 116, everybody drink when I say episode 116, knows that I'm talking about how we have to speak the business. Yes, don't have to inspire Dr. Nick there. Go ahead. We have to speak the business's language, and the business's language is money. That's it. Did we make money? Did we save money? And so whatever you can tie back to that is going to be good. And that's why Seth's comment that we just put up, where he said employee experience as a cornerstone of efficiency and productivity in the service of the customer. And not only that, but if the business language is money, can you show that by improving something for employees, they required less training? That's training no people didn't have to develop or deliver or update or monitor. What about, did it reduce errors? Was there something that employees were doing that they were making errors around? Or a lot of times these are digitized forms that then somebody else has to deal with. Like the employee filled out a form or turned in some information, and then someone else had to deal with that information. And when there was something incorrect in the what the employee filled out, it dragged two teams down, the person who filled it out and the person who had to deal with it next. So you can look at those, some of those things of reducing the number of errors, and then of course, improved efficiency. It used to be they did 3 of these a day, now they can do 8 of these a day. They used to help 2 customers a day, now they're helping 4 customers a day. There's got to be something here that you can show. And I always tell people, stay away from some of the fluffy words that we tend to use in UX, like delight and empathy. You'll definitely get your budget cut if people think that you are just creating empathy, because that just sounds like rainbow unicorns and cuddly stuff. So make sure you're tying it somehow to money that we made, money that we saved, money that we made or saved because we did our work more efficiently, we were more productive, we didn't have to hire a new person because we now are getting more work done. There's got to be something you can show there that will tie this back to money, because if they're thinking about pulling your resources, that means they're not seeing how they're making or saving money. And that's going to be the thing you have to prove. Nick, you're smirking, you're thinking of something, you're having a memory.
No, just agreeing.
The smirk of agreement.
I almost started singing.
What were we going to sing? I keep trying to get you to sing.
Money, 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 money.
For the love of money. Always a classic. Money.
We're going to have some kind of sing-off in a minute.
I was thinking of singing today because I had to blow dry my hair because it was 3 Celsius in my house, and my hair ended up really huge, and it looks like Kate Bush's hair from the Wuthering Heights video. And I started feeling like I was stuck in the 70s, the late 70s, with my fluffy hair today because I had to blow dry it. Because
you look like you crimped it.
I didn't. My hair has a little natural wave in it. I am not that 80s. I'm going to have to find my high school picture when I had a giant perm. But I was thinking I would sing Wuthering Heights because I feel like I stepped out of the video where she has crimped hair. And she obviously slept in braids for that video. Okay, we've got one more question. Sorry to go off on a tangent. Let's see. Paste. All right. All right. So this is possibly our last question for today. Thanks to everybody for joining in. It says, I saw Darren's LinkedIn post about mentorship the other day and was wondering how someone who's been working in the UX space for some time and is at a senior level can go about finding mentorship. I may be a senior, but feel there's still just so much more to learn. Yay.
That's a great question.
And Darren, this is from your post. Do you want to start with this one?
Sure, I'll start off. I know we're gonna speak collectively on it, but the thing that comes to mind is it goes back to the post relationships and organic development, that you end up connecting with people. You can't even always plan. The best ones aren't things you plan. You end up connecting with somebody, and the things that they say just benefit you so much, and you start frequenting the company of that individual, so to speak, whether it's on LinkedIn through posts. A lot of people that I interact with on LinkedIn, we end up on conference calls together, and we'll just have a conversation. You know that the UX chit chat hour the other day ended, and I don't know if Ray is on the call today. Ray and I ended up on the staying on the call talking another whopping 4 hours almost. We talked for a long time. I mean,
That's a long
and
time.
the,
And that's a
I
mighty
didn't have
long
to be
time,
anywhere.
let me tell you.
I didn't have to be anywhere that particular day, which is a minor. That's a minor miracle. Sorry.
I was doing a Prince quote there. Go ahead.
And but there are other times I've ended up talking with somebody another 2 hours. I book time with people now. It's set for 30 minutes. That's formality. We end up talking for an hour, hour and a half. And you just never know. You just end up with these conversations, and they just become these ongoing engagements and interactions, and you end up getting a lot out of them. It works out really, 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 really well. So I think that when you do that, your companies, the place where you work, is a huge resource. It should be. That's another reason you got to have the seniors on board. Then you have this constant banter, this constant back and forth, and everybody ends up better for it. So it's not something you're going to run out and do. You're certainly not. I don't know about the two of you. I'm not an ADP list fan myself. I think that they don't vet people out. Somebody has been doing UX for 3 minutes. Next thing you know, they're a mentor, and and you end up being a notch in their belt. And that's really all that stuff. People want to say, they want to be able to put on their resume or tell people that they're mentors, but they're not really doing anything. And the people I talk to who've been going out there, they're not happy with their experiences. It's all cookie cutter. It's all formal. It doesn't work. The stuff that comes forth naturally, though, is worth its weight in gold. And if you got to be patient, but you'll come across the right people. There are enough of us out here to come across the right people. And then you end up getting that thing where you can learn from someone, connect with the right people, connect with the three of us on LinkedIn, watch and see who's engaging, and watch and see what comes out of that. How about we start there?
All right.
Here's okay, sorry, can you flick the question up? It was about mentorship. So
Yeah.
first of all, the last bit you say there, I may be a senior but feel there's just so much more to learn, is a feeling that you're going to feel for quite some time. Honestly, I don't mean to be sort of bragging or flexing or any of that crap, but I felt that way for at least 8 or 9 years into my career. It's only in the last few years that I'm actually not feeling invulnerable or invincible or anything, but like I look for new problems now because I'm bored of all the other ones, if you know what I mean. So I want difficult, hard stuff because it's interesting to me now. But that's a long way down the road, if you know what I mean. That feeling of there's so much more to learn is embrace it. Don't feel bad about it. Unfortunately, because UX has been reset, we were talking before this call how UX has gone back in time because it's like so many things are forgotten, like information architecture and stuff, that everybody's relearning UX right now. I mean, CX are literally reinventing UX as CX, which is crazy. But so don't worry about that. The mentorship thing is forgive me, this is if there's anybody younger folk on this call, so you can kick me in the kidneys next time you see me. It's a bit like a management consultant under 30 years old, right? What kind of real world experience or application could you have when you're that young? You just can't
Nothing.
know that much. So be really
Nothing.
careful of mentors and coaches who they might say whatever they want, but if they're of a certain age, how much actual learning can they have? So just be aware that one of the things that this world hates is experience, because you can't buy it or just plug it in, or you know what I mean? It's hard.
Yep.
Well, that's what you need to seek out. And a senior, just to finish it off, this is what leads are all about. This is why I'm a lead, because I mentor seniors, right? A lead should be somebody who does not need mentorship in that way. Seniors need mentorship because they're further along than everybody else, but they still need support. A lead is much more accomplished and self-burning, if you know what I mean, self-running. Because there are so few seniors that turn into actual leads, finding people to give you free. This idea that you're paying for mentorship and stuff is ridiculous. You should be getting it like medical and dental. You know what I mean? It should just come part of the job. So, yeah, sorry, ranting. Stop.
Ranting is welcome here, as some may have noticed. Now, I'm going to actually say something slightly opposite to Dr. Nick, so, which is totally fine. You can take either piece of advice as it works for you. I know that for my own career, there are opportunities that I've had to learn from people, especially Larry Marine. I've been just amazed that I've been able to work with him on projects and learn so directly from him and learn new things, even in the last 2 or so years. And I'm pushing 50. So there's always more to learn. And as Nick said, seek out the people you're working with. If I worked with Larry and I didn't take every opportunity to learn what I could from him, that's just foolish. So, learn from the people you can, who you're working with, who are better than you at one or more things. As for more of the typical mentoring relationship, or what I sometimes call a coaching relationship, I think that it's totally fine for people to go out and find mentors and find coaches. And I just say to people, the way to do it, go find people you trust. Pick someone you trust, a speaker, an author, a YouTube talking head, someone whose tweets you like, someone who you think really knows their stuff, who you can learn from, and just ask them, do you have any slots for free mentoring, or do you do paid coaching? Now, of course, Nick is saying we shouldn't have to pay for this. And yeah, in a dreamy dream world, we shouldn't have to pay for this. It comes with your socialized medicine. But I do charge for my time. I realized I couldn't mentor everybody for free, so I started a YouTube channel. So I see this as the free mentoring. You can come here and ask any question, and we will answer it for free. I'm here every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. We have our Slack channel with over 1,000 members, where about 100 are active at any given time. I answer questions for free there, but I just cannot take on free mentors right now. And so I do charge for my coaching time. I charge 50 American dollars a half hour. I charge a very reduced rate of $100 an hour. But again, you don't have to pay me. Find anybody else. Find anybody. Joel Barr does a lot of free mentoring. Other people I can think of do charge. But again, depending upon what it is and what you want to learn and who you want to learn it from, maybe you budget for it. I think it was episode 79 that we had my life and business coach on to talk about finding your life purpose. She's someone I have to pay every time I want to talk to her. And I'm okay with that. I didn't say, no, I want to find a free life and business coach. So I think depending upon what you're looking to learn and how you want to learn it, this might be something you want to budget for in the name of your own personal and professional development, in case you can't find someone for free. Darren, you look like you have something to add.
No, I'm good. No, that's all great. Yep.
Oh, Nick, something to add back to that, since I was semi-disagreeing with you?
No, all good.
All right. Well, then that's it for questions, which is good because the show's only got 7 minutes left, which means that's just about enough time for closing remarks and where the heck people can find you. Darren's always got a long list of where you can find him, and he's operating under 17 brand names at this point. So everybody get out your pen so Darren can tell you how to follow him under all of his aliases. He's got more aliases than the mafia guys I grew up with.
So number one, of course, you can. Most people connect with me on LinkedIn. I am starting to try to get out to Debbie's channel more. So you will see me out there. Just
Oh, the
the
Slack.
Slack
Yeah.
notifications drive me nuts.
Yeah, sorry.
So I'm trying to come up with a strategy for that. You have the UX Uncensored YouTube channel. You have the Engage social media community, which we're going to try to ramp back up a little bit more here in the not too distant future. The UX Chit Chat Hour is the last Thursday of each month. Come out there and join a table and talk to UXers from around the world for roughly, is usually planned for an hour, 15 minutes, but we'll see what happens each time we get together. I'm any and everywhere. So reach out, connect, and if you find somebody trolling on my account, you will see me jettison them. I respect the people that connect with me. I respect my own mental health. We will keep that as a theme. From Dr. Nick mentioned that earlier. If somebody doesn't have the decency to engage like an adult, they don't have the. I don't welcome them in the surrounding. Go and hang out with your other idiot friends because I don't like idiots. So nice and simple. But you can find me if you see me getting rid of people. Darren, you blocked so-and-so. Yep. And you best rest assured I had a good reason for it. So that's it. That's where you'll find me. So if you see that kind of stuff, because I'm dealing with one while we've been on this call, I've been dealing with something. So that's it.
Dr. Nick, how do we stalk you?
Yeah, me LinkedIn, although I'm so busy at the moment with multiple clients and ridiculously big projects that if you see me on LinkedIn, it's because I'm procrastinating and I should be working. I've been on there for a couple of rants recently, but I haven't spent any extended time on there. So I'm around, but just for the next few weeks, I'm not really around. That's it. I've got the UX Psychology channel, which I occasionally put stuff on, and I need to do more. But as I say, I am so busy with just work, that I don't, any spare time I have is for the family and sleeping, and I don't even do a lot of that. All good. It's worth mentioning, though, that the project that I'm on right now is the most challenging project I've ever been on, and I'm learning more than I ever have done. So, the hits come with some kind of a benefit, if you know what I mean. So I hope that's some kind of weirdly inspirational thing to leave it on.
Darren has more to add.
I forgot about my podcast, the World of UX podcast. Don't forget about that. Almost forgot. How could I forget that?
You need a list. You got to have a list in front of you.
I
and
do.
Whenever I call on you, you're like, and now I've got this list of things. And
that's like, I'd like to thank.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the music starts playing.
Yeah, right. Go, I'm so happy to accept this award and want to thank all the little people. Yeah, thanks to everybody joining live today. We had a great audience and lots of super questions from people who asked anonymously and in the chat. Of course, you can find me here on the channel. We're live usually 4 times a week, though this week it'll be 5. And you can always check deltacx.com/links. It'll take you to the link for our Slack workspace. It'll take you to the link of the calendar events so you can see all the things that we're doing. Of course, the YouTube channel has everything archived. You people watching on LinkedIn, thank you. I've got a book. It's a little bit on the long side. I'm already working on my new book. And a book with Larry. So I'm working on 2 books. And I wrote a children's book, but that's a side thing. Which I thought was fun because I don't like children, but I decided I wanted to write a children's book about my dogs because I think other people's children will enjoy my dogs. So I'm working on a children's book about dogs. We've moved, so like Darren has his chit chat hour, we moved our video networking. Maggie wanted us to try it as a Sunday brunch so that it's not interfering with the work week. So we're going to be trying 3rd Sunday of each month at usual showtime, 6:30 Italy, brunch for America. We'll be doing the air meet thing. You can find the link on the Slack channel. What else can I tell you? Just check the calendar events because we're doing so many shows this week, but I'm slowing down on booking some of them because like Dr. Nick, I've started a new job and right now it's demanding. It's demanding. So I might try to schedule a few fewer shows in the coming months just to try to focus on that. But, if you know somebody who you think should be on the show and would make a great guest, let me know and I'll schedule them up. What else can I tell you? I'm looking at my calendar and it's got stupid stuff in it. And I was going to say, and don't forget to file your quarterly unemployment taxes with your American state, because that's what my calendar is telling me to do. So you must need to do it too. Yeah, I guess that's it. So I'm going to play us out of here. Thank you so much, Darren and Nick, for joining. Always happy to see you here. This happens once a month, where Office Hours Ask Me Anything turns into Ask the Three Musketeers Anything. And so that would be great. If you would like to be a guest on an Office Hours, let me know. Maybe we should have Seth come out and Dr. Giles was on the show before. So we'll do more of these. But thanks, everybody. Be safe and be well. Have a great night. And I'll play us out of here. Bye. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are